So before we start, before Lisa comes on and we begin to share a few announcements. So let me do the announcements. I got some slides here for that. And so it's just our opening slide. So I do this now twice a month on the second and fourth Sundays, and most of the time I have a guest that comes on, and once in a while I'll be doing it by myself. Today, as you know, we have this wonderful lady named Lisa Natoli that's going to be with us, and we'll have her more formally introduced in a minute. There she is, and that's today. And our topic is, what does it mean to say God is love, or another way, like, for the love of God? So this is being brought to you by the 1-9 Foundation and Miracles Magazine. And for those who are here for the first time, you're going to receive a free complimentary 1-year subscription to Miracles Magazine, unless we don't have your address. If we need your address in order to do that, although we can also have a digital version, but I think it's much nicer to have the actual copy in your hands. The March-April issue is at the printers now, so maybe we'll be on time next month. Just a word about Helen. So Helen died also in February 9th of 1981. I'll just tell you briefly about that. Helen, as you may know, had some trouble with the Course in terms of the applications of the principles in her own life, struggled with it. I think Bill had an easier time in accepting the atonement for himself and Ken. But Jesus told Helen that he would come to get her when the time came. Ken Wapnick and Helen's husband, Louis, were at the hospital the night before she died. And the night nurse told them that they should go home because they thought she'd live through the night. The minute Ken got home, the phone was ringing as he came in the door. It was the hospital calling, saying to come back if he wanted to. She had passed. Ken went back to the hospital. When he walked into the room, and that Helen had the most beautiful glowing smile on her face. I picked this picture of Helen because I think this is a really nice one of her big smile on her face. And Ken was personally convinced that Jesus had come to take her home. That was 40 years ago this week. I'd like for us all to read this to ourselves out loud. And I'm going to read, this is just a way to start. So it's one of the favorite passages from the Course. I will read it out loud, and you in your own home can do the same thing. I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. And that's all of our slides to start. And now let's go to Lisa Natoli. I'm really, really happy to have Lisa here. Speaking of Valentine's Day, and we got a little love thing going on here, very nicely. We always sign off, I love you kind of stuff, which is really nice. And I think Lisa, the best thing to do, I could do a little intro for you, but tell us a little bit about your own background, and particularly, how did you come to the Course? You know, I don't even know that myself. I know you were at Endeavor Academy, but I don't know how you got there.
Yeah, I found a Course. I was living in New York. I was living in Park Slope, Brooklyn, working in publishing in Manhattan. It was 1992, and Marianne Williamson's book, A Return to Love, had just come out. And I had been a seeker, forever, self-help books and Wayne Dyer and Shakti Gawain and whatever. And when I opened Marianne's book and I read the first couple of pages, and she describes in the first couple of pages that she was in a friend's house and there was these 3 hardcover blue books on her friend's coffee table. I don't know that I even finished reading Mary Ann's book. It was a Saturday morning. I remember like it was yesterday. I was like, A Course in Miracles? What the hell is that? And I grabbed my purse, my keys, and I just went straight to the subway. I took the subway into Union Square. There was a Barnes & Noble there on Astor Place. And I went downstairs where the self-help section was. There was one copy of the Blue Book. It was $30, 1992. And I was shocked. I was like, $30 for a book? That's outrageous. And of course, now I know it's the best money, I ever spent.
Right.
And I walked around the bookstore for like an hour trying to find a less expensive book. I kept putting the course back. I'd walk around, look at other books, go back to the course. I kept going back to the book. I'm like, just buy the damn thing. And and that's how I came to it.
That's great. Can I just say a word about, so another interesting little synchronicity here, the coffee table that Mary Ann picked those books up off of was Jeff Olmsted, who was the music director of our church in New York.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's sort of strange that's another overlap that, who knows? Of course, there's been no accidents. Chance plays no part in God's universe. So it's sort of interesting how the overlaps overlap the overlaps.
Yeah.
Go ahead, but tell us more about what happened after that.
Yeah. So after that, I'm not sure if everybody can see me. Can everyone? Okay. Good. I was living with this guy. We're best buddies, romantic relationship, and he was an atheist, and I don't have a religious background, so I didn't have any of that. That's why I like this topic so much today of God is love, because I don't have a reference. And I was very embarrassed by this book, that I bought a book I actually think, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but when we were in school, like when we were in, first, second, third, fourth grade, we used to have to cover our books with paper bags. You guys remember that, where you had to keep the books from the school? I covered my book with a paper bag so that nobody would see that I was reading A Course in Miracles. And then I hid the book in the closet because I was so embarrassed by the language, Christ, Holy Spirit, God. I was like, I can't let my boyfriend know I'm reading this book. And I was so drawn to that book. And every time he would leave, I would be so excited and I would go to the closet, and it was like pornography. I was hiding it, and I would read the book while he was gone. And I would sit in a chair near the window where I could see him coming home. And when I would see him walking down the street, I would put the book back in the closet. And so I had this, I was very attracted to it. I mean, there was something that was just calling me, like, I know this message is true, but I had a huge resistance to all the religious Christian terms, definitely. Like I just thought, I don't want to be a Jesus freak. I just wasn't interested in that part of it. And so that really was my beginning. And then I pretty much studied. I didn't know there was groups. I didn't know anything. Back then there was no internet. And I found how I found my course group is actually an interesting story. I started to, this is why I like this topic today so much, because you said the topic is the fact that God is love does not require belief, but it does require acceptance. And because of some of the early things that happened to me in my own journey, it's what I teach a lot, is that you must have a direct experience. And you don't have to believe that this message is true. You don't have to know God. You don't have to have a belief system about it. but you do have to make the communication. You have to simply open your mind up enough to say, okay, I don't know for sure, because that's what belief is. Belief is like that certainty, but it's false certainty. And acceptance is more of, in my mind, of a direct experience. It's where like you're experimenting, like being a scientist in the lab. And I started talking to God. Like back then, I thought God was outside of me. I thought God, but I didn't know. I had no reference. So I didn't know that God is our being. I didn't know. I have no idea. So that's why, as a teacher, I know that wherever someone is, you can't fail. You can't, it doesn't matter if you don't know anything. You can't get this wrong. And so I've now, the boyfriend and I have broken up. My books are publicly out in public. I put them out. They're just out. I can read them when I want. I'm not hiding them in the closet anymore. And I found out that Course in Miracle groups were in people's homes in New York City. And I was like, okay, that's too weird for words, because I didn't know if it was a cult back then. I just thought, I'm not going into strangers' apartment in New York City. So I said to God, or whatever, like I said, okay, I want to find a group. And that was pretty much it. Like I just knew I was not going into strangers' apartment. I needed to be shown and led. And at the time I was doing internet dating, not internet dating. They didn't have internet back then. It was the blind dating, where I don't even know what it was, but so I was going out on these blind dates. It was all just a disaster. And I went out with this, I was supposed to go to this party on the Upper West Side. I said no to the party because I had a date with this guy, and it was a disaster. And I'm usually really nice. I'm usually will sit through something. Just this was such a disaster. He was just racist and I mean, just a lot of hate language, to already telling me how he wanted me to be as his girlfriend. Mm. So we're in this restaurant. We've already ordered the meal. And this is why I like so much, like, you can trust absolutely whatever's unfolding for you. I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I got to get out of here. This guy. And I actually got up and I said to him, you're an asshole. I'm out of here. And I just walked out of that. I couldn't believe I did it. Something was like, Lisa, you can't sit here anymore. So I walk out of the restaurant. It's early still, 7:00. I thought, I can go to that party now. So I go to this party on the Upper West Side. It's all gay men. I'm like the only girl there. It was a fabulous party. And I meet this guy there who was actually, I'm not even going to go into the whole story. It's one of these weird stories that he lived in my New Hampshire apartment when I moved to New York City. He literally moved into not just the apartment building in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, in my actual apartment when I went to New York. And then he's a twin, I'm a twin, both from New Hampshire. I'm like, all right, this is so weird. And then we lived like 3 blocks from each other in Park Slope. So we took the train home and he said, let's meet for coffee in the morning. So he comes over in the morning, sees my course book out in the open and says, oh, you study A Course in Miracles? I study A Course in Miracles. I know this great group on the Upper West Side. I'll take you there on Wednesday. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me with this? And that was my course group for the next 5 years. I mean, it was just that. And see, that's how I teach now as a teacher, because there literally is this communication and you have to trust the unfolding of everything to get to that point. Like, I had to go on a really bad blind date, and I also had to trust enough to walk out of it early to not people please. Because if I had been like, okay, I'm just going to sit through the dates, I would never have gone to that party. So that's where, like, as a teacher, I really encourage everyone to just listen to whatever prompts are coming to you, even if it seems crazy, not nice. If it feels like something's falling apart, that's good news. It means something's being rearranged. And so it's my whole life has been like that since then. Like, since you begin to really trust that it's all unfolding perfectly. And
even when it's not.
even when it seems like it's
Even when
not,
it doesn't look like it is.
it is. Yep.
Yeah. Right. There's an interesting section in the Course in Miracles that talks about the turning point.
Mm-hmm.
And the turning point is the point at which you say enough.
Yep.
You know, like whether it's to
Yep.
alcohol or whatever it is, or a relationship or financial obligation or something. And we've got to make that switch. The time is decided to make the switch.
Yep. Yeah, and that's exactly like why I like this topic so much for today, is that God is love. This does not require belief, it requires acceptance. And like, I asked my husband last night, Bill Furry, who's in the house, love you, babe. I said, what do you listen to this sentence? And I read him, I said the sentence, God is love, does not require belief, it requires acceptance. And Bill said, that's true. That was the first thing he said. And then the second thing he said was that belief is of the thinking mind. And that's the problem. Like, when you think about beliefs, like I was thinking after Bill said that, like, we all have had beliefs that we found out later were not true. Like, we believed in Santa Claus, we believed in the tooth fairy, we believed that if we worked hard, we would be successful. We believed that if we did the right thing in our relationships, that they would last. We believe that, all these beliefs that we have that we later find out are not true. We believe that if we're kind and good, other people will be kind and good. We believe that if we ask God for something, he'll heal us. And so we have all these disappointments because we have these beliefs, and then because we're using the senses, and the awareness is on the external objective world, we're living by our very finite, limited body identification. So when we accept something, that's a whole different thing. So when God is love, doesn't require belief, it requires acceptance. Like, think about that. Like, that's amazing. I love that you gave this as the topic, John, because for the love of God, like, you're whole and perfect. Right. How many people here accept your wholeness and your oneness and your perfection? Let's put it in the chat board.
The other thing about belief is that beliefs can change. You can believe one thing and then switch it over to another thing. It doesn't have the knowledge quality that the Course in Miracles is talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And so I kept reading, I'm whole and perfect, I'm healed, I'm whole, I'm perfect. But my body and my bank account and my relationships were giving me another picture. So for a long time, I kept thinking, well, I want that to be true. And I thought I believed it, but it wasn't accepted yet. Like, and that's when you said about the turning point. I was, this week thinking about the biggest miracle story that has happened in my life was in 2012. So I've had the course since 1992, devoted my life to it, gave all my stuff in New York away. I was like, really went into this place of like doing what Jesus said, follow me, give all your stuff away, and, moved to Endeavor Academy. So why am I still suffering? Why am I still confused, even though I know every word in this book? Why, even though I've done the workbook lessons every year consistently, why do I still have doubt and anger and sadness and fear? And why? What am I doing wrong? And I hear this a lot, like I'm not there yet. So I met Bill in 2010 in Boston, and then we friends first. Then we got together in 2011, moved in with each other. And in 2012, I don't know what happened. Like I had no money for 10 years at Endeavor. I didn't think it was a problem. I was like, I don't need money. People would give me rides because I couldn't even put gas in my car. I couldn't, I don't know. I just was like, oh, God will provide. Like I still thought God was outside of me. And in 2012, I have this mountain of credit card debt, no job. I'm working as a Zumba instructor, no money. Bill's paying the rent. Thank you, Bill. But I thought I would like to see for myself, this message is true. I want to see the power that is within me to create and to heal. I want to know it, not like have someone take care of me. I want to know it. And we were taking this prosperity class at the time at our Unity Church. And I thought as an experiment that I would be the accomplishment. That was the turning point. This is the greatest miracle of my entire life, because in one moment of decision, I decided I am going to be whole, healed, happy, the richest person on the planet, generous, connected, inspired, grateful. And so the external picture didn't change at all. But everything, like the Course in Miracles says, internal now reflected only the love of God. So when I woke up the next morning, where before I had been complaining, feeling like God's not here, if only someone gave me some money or believed in me, I could be inspiring, I could help, it was like, just like you said earlier, John, you said enough of that. That's it. I'm done with that way of living. And so that's the acceptance.
Right. That's also, because keep in mind, the Course, Bill turns to Helen and says, there's got to be another way.
Exactly.
That's it. Same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and I liked the story of Bill Thetford and Helen Schuckman. If I understand it correctly, it was before the message started coming through to Helen, and they were working at Columbia, a lot of fighting in their department, a lot of office politics. And the story, as I've read it, is that before they went into a meeting, Bill turned to Helen and said, he didn't say there must be a better way, but he made a decision that he was going to do things differently from that moment on. And that when he goes into the meeting, he's going to now listen instead of fighting. He's going to stay open instead of judging. He's going to stay present. And Helen said, I'll join you in it. And then somewhere else in the Course, Jesus said that was the moment. That was the moment when it was like, okay, A Course in Miracles can now come in through Helen, because they joined together and they made a decision. It's just like that quote that we hear, is to be the change you wish to see in the world. So we all have that power and ability to decide how we're going to show up in the world. We don't wait for the world to change so that then we can be kind and compassionate and healed and whole and happy. And it just requires acceptance. It requires like, oh, I'm just going to accept it. I'm whole. I'm healed. I'm perfect. It doesn't matter that I have no money. It doesn't matter that I'm sick. It doesn't matter that my relationships are falling apart. It doesn't matter what the world is doing. It doesn't matter. My reality is not based on the physicality of things. It's based on the truth.
You know, it reminds me a lot of lesson 268, let all things be exactly as they are.
Exactly.
And that is so important in terms of, like, say, the political chaos that's going on in the world. Well, it is what it is. You know, this is what's going on. This is a part of the local soap opera for this time of year, this year. And this will change and there'll be another one. And I can get attached to that and I can get upset about it, or I can let it be what it is.
Exactly. And that's acceptance. And that's how acceptance is different, because if you were to believe like all things happen for my good, let's just say that's the belief. The belief is, you know, but then something can happen where that's not true anymore. Like you can think that all things are working for my good, and then the belief can be changed. But if you accept it, like if we're to accept all things are for good, and we accept it, and so then whenever something appears to happen that seems like not fitting the picture of the way I wanted it to go, the acceptance is that, oh, this is just happening. I accept all things as they are, and now I'm here present for it. So there's no more judging, when whatever happens.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What we don't also realize, think a lot, is that even this trial and this difficulty that I'm going through, this is a lesson that I'm learning that's really going to take me to a better place. I I owned a business once upon a time and I lost that business, and it was like a really tragedy. I lost a lot of money, etc. But if that had not happened, I would not have met my wife. It's like,
Yep.
I can't imagine not having met Dolores. You know, speaking of Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the love thing, right?
Yeah, and all the things that you can actually see are, I like this idea of things are for us. Everything's a gift. Every single thing is a gift, and people might think, well, how's cancer a gift, and how's death of my loved one a gift, and how is COVID a gift, and because these are all just things that are designed, when the attention and awareness goes there, to keep us from the awareness of ourselves as love's presence. So the mind training always is to bring the awareness back to what is true, not what is not true. Does this make sense to everyone?
Yeah. I had cancer, and that was a real gift for me. And what the gift was that I got to the point with, because it had spread, of saying, okay, I'm going to die. Okay. And so then, well, so you're going to die. So big deal. I mean, everybody dies, right? An interesting thing, that the moment I said, okay, come get me, to death, I realized I was probably going to live, and obviously did.
Yeah.
But making peace with it, that's the thing, it was making peace with it, so that it was no longer this fearful thing. It was okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what happened to me. I mean, many people who know me know my story. I started getting weird physical symptoms back in 2012. First started as a flu, vomiting, just all sorts of like physical symptoms, and it didn't go away. It was just this flu that did not go away. And then it was like, oh, it's an incurable autoimmune condition. And it was just a lot of pain, dry eyes, dry mouth. I couldn't talk. I mean, talking was so difficult. I'd have mucus coming out of my eyes. So it was very visible. It was very visible. And of course, like, I'm a teacher, like a very visible thing. So it's like, oh my God, I can't hide from this thing. And And Bill, my husband, he's started following, and I have since started following a lot of the non-duality teachers like Rupert Spira and John Klein, Francis Lucille. And he was at a Rupert Spira event. I was here in Maine. He was at the event, and the pain for me was at an all-time high. I was like, oh my God. And he was on the phone with me, and he's like, baby, can you just welcome it? Can you, because I'd been fighting it. I'd been trying to heal it since it started. And it was actually, I think it was 2013 is when it was. And I had tried everything, doctors, supplements, raw diet. And then I tried not healing it, but I was trying to not heal it to heal it. Like I was doing the spiritual thing of like, oh, I'm just gonna leave it alone. But I still had in my mind a future in which I would be healed, quote unquote, because I'm using the body as the the determiner of my wholeness and healing. And Bill said to me, it was fall 2018, to welcome it. Even if the symptoms never go away, even if you're never healed physically, can you welcome it? That was another turning point for me, because after that, it was like, oh, welcome it. And a lot of people get really angry with that one because they don't want to welcome cancer. They don't want to welcome pain. They don't want to welcome. But if you can welcome it and invite it in, and, I learned this from the non-dual teachers, and it's probably in A Course in Miracles, but I must have missed it, of standing in the discomfort. That was a very powerful teaching for me, because I was always trying to get out of the discomfort. I was always trying to escape from the body. I was always trying to reach God, because I really still thought God was outside of me. And when you have a willingness to welcome everything that's happening exactly as it is, no resisting, like you have pain, welcome it. It's okay. It's just, you realize, and in awareness, when you turn your attention back to the truth of what you are, you actually will discover for yourself that it doesn't have a grip on you anymore. And so, in the Healing Cure of this 8-week coaching program that I created was born out of that experience. Like that happened in the fall of 2018, and I wrote the Healing Cure and launched it then on December 10th, 2018. Because I was like, oh, this is what healing is. It has nothing to do with the body. So I went from being in both of those situations, the situation with me having no money and the situation with me being sick. If there's like a formula, and this comes straight out of the Course, it's a decision to stop being what you're not and to be what you are. So I had been sick, frail, weak, a victim, complaining, hoping for change, wishing, wondering. Like I was living as a body identity. And when you live as the body identity, you have all of those experiences: anger, shame, guilt, blame. And in that moment, like you said, John, earlier, enough of that.
Right.
Enough of that. I'm not weak and frail and a victim and powerless and helpless. I'm the Holy Son of God himself. I am light. I am whole. I am healed. I am joy. I am love. I am one with God. I am one with my brothers. I am one with, and so ever since that day, that's been the decision, to keep the awareness on the truth of what I am, which is oneness and wholeness.
All right. That's great. I think a lot of it, so much of it is just recognizing if I'm angry, if I'm attacking, then obviously there's something that's gone wrong with my thinking process somewhere, which really means that I need to see this thing differently. So anytime that I'm upset with the world out there, I know that there's been a lot of stuff on television about a lot of folks who are kind of upset about what's going on, and you kind of just look at it dispassionately and say, let it be what it is. This is just the contemporary insanity. I don't have to go there. I think one of the things I say to people more than anything else is do not attack. Just do not, and do not defend either. It's the same thing, because what are you defending? A silly ego. My God, that doesn't need a defense. That's not who you are.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So we want to get to the love. Let's get to the love. So what is the love? You know, we talk about the love of God. Love is the thing. I mean, it really is the thing. It's the final thing. It's the ultimate thing, in the sense that once you've got that there, then the question is, how do I extend that rather than to extend my attack thoughts and the problems that I find with the world? And can I do it at all times, in all places, with all people, and literally all things? I've just been reading The Secret Life of Trees. Anybody read The Secret Life of Trees? It's really incredible. And
I think, is it a movie?
Maybe. I think
I'll have a look at it.
Anyhow, I'm reading the book. And so it's talking about how trees take care of each other, the current chapter, how they feed each other under the ground, the sugars to the ones that need it, and how altruistic they are, how the healthier trees will deliberately try to help the weaker trees. It's just amazing to see that it's right here in nature.
Yep.
You know? Yep. And it's all over the place if we can just see it. The ego is, if anything, unnatural.
Yeah.
It's completely unnatural. It has nothing, what is it? Principle number 6 of the 50 Miracles principles is miracles are natural. When they don't occur, something has gone wrong. Well, then I want to be in a natural state. And that's what you got to back to for your healing too. You got to be in a natural state in order for the healing to occur, right? And that's actually easy. It's so much easier to be kind and gentle than it is to be angry and attacking.
Yeah.
Why don't we understand that? But the ego doesn't understand that, because the ego is seeing there are problems out there, man. Well, there aren't any problems out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I love that, because that's where, like, we take the focus off of ourselves and off of our own transformation, and we begin to really, I like that. I'm definitely going to look at that. Someone just posted that The Secret Life of Trees was on PBS with Judi Dench on her land, and the connections of the trees interacting and repelling and causing rains, etc., and so forth. So, but that's, like A Course in Miracles says, the healer's prayer is, let me know this brother as myself. Like that is a reversal of the way we live in the world. Like, we live when awareness is rooted here in time and space. It's we're attacking ourselves and each other. It's violence. It's all past and future. It's all,
Insanity.
Yeah. So when we start to really have that shift in our perception, where we can really say, how, it's not even like a doing, and it's not even like a how, it's more like a recognition that my brother is one with me, and that what I do to him, I'm doing to myself and to everyone.
Right.
And so it's in that recognition, like A Course in Miracles says, enlightenment is not a change at all. It's a recognition. So the only thing in my mind, and this is why A Course in Miracles is so simple now, even though it's 30 years of, I struggled with it. Like, what does it mean? How is there no world? What is, I'm not a body. I don't get that. There was so many years of just the usual things we hear from Course in Miracles to teachers and students. But the simplicity now is that it really is just a recognition of our true identity, which is eternal and changeless and whole. It has nothing to do with the body. And the the piece for me that where the non-duality teachings have like beautifully complemented A Course in Miracles for me. I never understood consciousness. I always thought, even though I had read in the Course, we're all one, there's one mind, I still thought that we each have different consciousnesses. Like there's one consciousness, but we all have different consciousnesses. I don't know. That's kind of what I thought. And then we hear these ideas that there's levels, that there's different levels of consciousness, and there's a lot of writings out there, like there's lower level emotions like fear and shame and guilt and blame, and then you can rise up into these like, more fast moving emotions. Like, so we have this idea built in as bodies that there's separation, that there's something, I don't know, but the non-duality teaching gave me an idea that just blew my flippin' mind. And it is that there is only consciousness. Consciousness is what God is. It's what awareness is. It's just different words for the same thing. God is, love is, consciousness is, awareness is, and that all objective physical things are in it. So when I heard that idea, I was like, what? Like, I don't know. It just flipped my head because I was like, we are in the middle of perfection and oneness and wholeness and unity, fighting with each other.
Right. And that is the most insane thing, I think, is the fact that we're fighting with each other. I was listening to a politician talking about how Russia's our enemy and China's our enemy and Iran is our enemy. No, there are no enemies. There are no enemies. These are our brothers and our sisters. And that's what we got to be looking at. And if we look at that, that changes everything, because the idea then is to do what the trees are doing. They cooperate with each other. They actually work to help each other. That's where consciousness is, that we want to be. That's what God does for us, and we need to do back for God. Then it's really a unity of experience. And then we begin to relate to God in a wholly other way. And life begins, I love that one of the definitions of God in the Course in Miracles, it says that God is life.
Right. I love that.
Right? And life is in the mind and of the mind.
Yep.
It never dies. It cannot die. The bodies, they're going to disappear. They're going to check out somewhere down the road. Right? But that has nothing to do with who you are.
Yeah. And that's something that people I love that too, because I love that word life. And in my sickness, I was not alive. I was really believing I'm sick, and all the things that went, now there's a belief again, you see? So I believed I'm sick. The body is giving me evidence. The doctors are saying something. I'm definitely having an experience. I can look in the mirror and see what's happening. So I believed that it was true. And so I became that belief: weak, frail, helpless, powerless. And so God is life, and that is what I am. And that's what I wanted. I wanted aliveness. Like, health means whole. It literally means, that's the definition. So to be healthy actually means to be whole. And the body's not whole. The body becomes whole when you no longer identify with it as yourself, but you're recognizing your own life, aliveness, vitality, enthusiasm. Even that word enthusiasm, theo, means God. So in God.
Right. One of the things I like about it, it's so simple. If God is life, God is love, simple deduction, then love is life, and life is love. And the more alive you are, the more in love you are, the more in love you are, the more alive you are.
Yeah.
And that's going to be it. And would you believe we're at 5 minutes to 1? just like
I
that.
know it goes so fast. I'm looking forward to the next hour too, because I want to hear from people.
Yeah, well, we're going to take a 10-minute break. Okay. Here we are.
That was the fastest 10 minutes ever. And I have to say, I like the idea of taking a break. I got a coffee. I was hanging out with Bill. I was like, oh, 10-minute break. Good idea.
Yeah, it is a good idea. It gives people, don't feel like you're sitting there for 2 hours without moving around a little bit. So, excuse me, this is the time where we go into more of a dialogue with whoever is here. We'll entertain you can make observations or ask questions, whichever one you want, of Lisa and or myself. And if you don't think of anything, I will.
We do have a question.
Okay, good.
And that question is,
That
I'm
one?
struggling with accepting, in quotes, and seeing things in the world. I'd like to be kinder. Any thought on this?
What's blocking the kindness?
Well, I think that the question is, I want things to be in the world kinder than I see them.
Right. So it's about seeing then, isn't it? What do I see? Do I love myself? That's a really good. To love God is to love oneself. To love oneself is to love God. Right? And isn't that what I want to do? Don't I want to be loving to God? And there's a wonderful line in the Course that says, one brother is all brothers. One mind is all mind, for all minds are connected. I'm thinking again about the roots under the trees. Everything is connected. We are each, we are literally each other. There's a line in the Course where it says you cannot hurt someone else without hurting yourself. You cannot attack someone without attacking yourself. Because if you attack anyone, you are attacking, you're hurting yourself. And if you don't think that you are, you're doing it in terms of the level of guilt, because you can't do that without feeling guilty. You may not consciously be aware of the guilt, but you're creating a sense of separation. If you're creating a sense of separation, you're creating the guilt. Even if it's buried down there, it's still there. So the Course is really, and we can use this phrase a lot, all about.
Yeah. Carol, do you want to come on? So Carol says what you said, John, and then she just put another one. I'm struggling with accepting and seeing things in the world. I'd like to be kinder. Any thoughts on this? And then she said, I see Black men, not criminals, being killed by police. I want to help bring this to an end. Do you want to come on, Carol?
Yep. Hello, thank you.
So let's hear from you.
Well, so from all is one, right? It's not really happening. That's an illusion. However, it is beings here on this planet having their experience, having a horrible experience, and there's just so much fear expressed. I think a lot of these killings are because somehow Black men has equaled monsters in people's minds. And now Black children, the 9-year-old girl in upstate New York who was pepper sprayed by police while she was in the back of a police car. They didn't see her as a 9-year-old child. And this breaks my heart. It's so unkind. And it's going to be keeping so many people from an experience that could be joyous and peaceful and loving. And I want to help, but then that's not accepting. So that's kind of what I struggle with.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, when I read something like I'd like to be kinder, I mean, I connect with that because that was me for years and years. But see, I'd like to be kinder is coming from the body identity, because who you are is kindness. So whenever you think I'd like to be, I'd like to be good, I'd like to be something, you can quickly then realize, okay, I've identified with the body, and that's not bad. But I'd like to be kinder is the ego And that's good. Like that's a really, really good step. But to recognize is kindness is what you are. You are the love of God. That's what today's thing is, like, John, for the love of God. So for you, Carol, to recognize that you have the power within you, which is your holiness, which is your innocence and your light, which is connected to all those participants involved. You say, I see black men being killed, which also includes the people who are killing them.
Yes.
Including you. It's including that girl pepper sprayed and the person who pepper sprayed her. So that's really where you have to be willing to see it differently, not to be willing to, like you said, I want to help bring this to an end. It ends in your mind right here, right now. Where you recognize, one of my favorite things is when Jesus said on the cross, forgive them, they know not what they do. He wasn't judging them for what they were doing. He was recognizing they don't know who they are, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. Nobody who knows who they are would pepper spray someone or kill someone. Wouldn't happen. So now you have the compassion of Christ. You're not hoping and wishing things could be different. And this is where it like gets really powerful for me. Out of this place, action will occur. But it's not coming from, I need to change something. It's just, it's happening. Does that make sense? You can already see it's happening in the one mind. It's already,
intellectually, yeah.
What?
Feeling it intellectually, yes. I get it all here. It's the feeling of it for me. It's like I want to feel like I'm in that space. I'm the compassion. I'm the acceptance. I'm the love of God.
And do this. It's a wholeheartedness that's necessary. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the mind; it's the whole being that's got to see that.
Yeah.
Right. But the mind can be very distracting in that sense, right? It's the whole love.
Oh yeah.
Right. Jacqueline's got a question, and Lynn, observation was for Jacqueline.
You have to come off mute.
Okay. Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to respond quickly to Carol, because I feel like what's helped me is that I'm willing to let go of every thought that I think on my own. And that has kind of cleared the way for me to have the experience of all being one. But my question for Lisa is, so if we accept all things exactly as they are, and I love that, and I practiced it's really just so beautiful. But then following guidance, it gets a little tricky sometimes for me. I don't even know why, because you would think that just the idea of accept all things exactly as they are would be enough, right? Just accept all things. But sometimes I wonder if it's Jesus trying to give me guidance, because I'll feel some resistance to something, not a big deal. Just like right now I'm going through chemotherapy and I'm almost at the end of it. And I keep getting this message to like, take a week off, just like take a week off. And I'm like, but if I accept all things exactly as they are, I should just go. Right. And then I'm like, so I think sometimes the ego kind of slips in there, or the split mind slips in there and tries to trick me into thinking I don't know the difference between guidance and acceptance. But I don't know if you can make any sense of that, but it seems like, God, I would really like to know, because I was, because I will accept things as they are. If that's, I'm good at that. But if it's guidance, I don't want to not do it, so.
Yeah, thank you so much. The thing for me with guidance is you had a couple of different things going on there. So I'm just going to go with that one is, I always allow myself to just not try to get it right. And sometimes I'll do something and I'm not quite sure. And it's like, if ever there's an effort, that's really an indicator to me that that's coming from the body identity.
Right.
And then you reach this state where all things are happening through you. So I love the part in A Course in Miracles that talks about the proper purpose of the body. So the proper purpose of the body is to allow the word of God to come through you. So you're not resisting it anymore. You're allowing the light that you are, the love that you are. I love that you're holding a peace pillow. Like it's this beautiful peace pillow. Like so that's what we're here for. That's really the accomplishment, where the end is for the teachers of God, is where we accept. So for you, Jacqueline, it would be today that you accept your wholeness and your perfection. That would be what I would encourage today, is that chemo or no chemo, it does not matter. It is literally you and the acceptance. So you're not trying to heal cancer. You're not trying to not heal it. You're not trying to, and it's good that you're looking, but to me, it's always just like, I'm whole and perfect in this moment. There's not a single thing that a doctor is going to tell you that the cancer is gone. I know somebody who was healed of cancer. She was healed of cancer, and she still wasn't healed though, because she still was afraid it was going to come back. She still was like, I'm not really healed. I know like I got a clear, thing from the doctor, but that's why the whole message of A Course in Miracles is that the body is in no need of healing. The mind that thinks it's a body, that thinks it's sick, that's what's needed to be healed. John, do you have anything to add?
Well, when I had cancer, I know I remember thinking that I never really believed it was going to get me. It was a nuisance. I had this nuisance that I had to put up with from day after day, and one day it would end, and one day it ended. I don't know how else to explain that, but just it was annoyance, and the annoyance ended. And I think that's the same attitude. All right, Lynn's got a question. Want to go up to Lynn?
Lisa, John, thank you so much. I was thinking with the past comments about this world has always been a horrible place, between slavery, the Holocaust, the way people are treated. But now I see there's a big change now, and the awakening, and we're walking together. We're walking each other home as mighty companions, and just keep loving no matter what.
Right.
I know the ego can be a real bully. Believe me, it had me on my yoga mat crying. And then I thought, all things are lessons God would have me learn. I said, what's a lesson? And, the ego is saying you have no love to give, blah, 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 blah. And the lesson is, I am love. And I don't choose the venue to give that love.
There you go. Very good.
You mighty companions.
Yeah. Thank you, Lynn, for that. And that's what I wanted to say. We're sharing the same idea, like Carol, when you were sharing, is that we often think like that the action has to come through us, but actually it's that the action is coming through everyone because of the one mind. So with all the work that we do, we literally are only being asked to remember the truth of what we are. I am the light of the world. This is my only function. This is why I'm here. I am the light of the world. I put it on my license plate. I have a main license plate. It says ACIM 61. I wanted to remember this is because see, I was always someone who was a doer, New Yorker. I have to physically do things. I have to help people with my words. I have to touch them and see them and reach them. And so for me, my journey has been a reversal back to realizing that this light, it is doing its mighty work. And if you look at how the world has changed, we're not there yet on the physical level yet. I mean, it's still a very violent, separate place. But when you see how many people have changed how they see themselves and others and how they really are ushering in change, you recognize, oh, it is actually unfolding. And that there's so
it doesn't take much of a study of history to realize that despite everything that's going on, despite the COVID and social unrest and all that sort of stuff, read Steven Pinker's book, The Better Angels of Our Nature. And he has got all the statistical evidence that shows it.
What's it called?
Down. All this stuff is changing. And even the stuff that maybe that's like you don't want to think of, you changing. Churches are dying. They really are.
What was the name? What was the name of it, John? The
Better Angels of Our Nature. Steven Pinker. He is professor of psychology and linguistics at Harvard University, and he has got all the statistical evidence, which really shows us. I mean, you wouldn't want to have been in Germany in the 1930s or the 1940s. You would not have. You wouldn't want to have been in Rome during the first century. You can just keep running down. You wouldn't want to have been here in the United States during slavery and the killing of Indians. I mean, really horrible stuff was going on, right? We're learning how to stop that because we get up to a point of enough, and then the changes do happen. It's very slow sometimes, but still, it's actually speeding up. You can see that.
Yeah, Bill and I watched this movie the other night, which I never in a million years thought I would ever think I would be recommending, but it's called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And we watched the trailer for it, and it's about aliens, and I was like, aliens? No, thank you. I'm not interested. But then enough people reached out to me in the course community and was like, you have to watch this movie, Lisa. So we watched the movie, and I love it because basically in my sort of perspective on it, that they're saying there's alien sightings, there's spaceship sightings, and that we're the hostile ones. These aliens are not hostile. But what I felt when I was watching this was that, and it says this is the new technology. The new technology is to get into that resonance where they are, which is love. Pure oneness. And the way that I felt when I was watching the movie is that we can only put it in the box we live in. So we call them aliens and we call them spaceships. Like we think, oh, I think I'm seeing light and it's a spaceship. No, that's just the mind that has to put it in a box to understand it. But the basic message of it was that you have the ability and the power, each and every one of us, to come into a state of resonance and coherence and to live from this frequency. And when we do that, we connect with this frequency that's here. It's not, there's no time and space. So to me, that is the invitation all the time, that's what I think today's talk is actually about. And you just said it, John, is to get out of the head and to get into the heart, to get out of trying to figure out how miracles work, how God is love, get out of there, and come into the experience of living from your wholeness, living in love, living as life, because God is what you are. Life is what you are. Oh, thank you, Bud, for putting, Bud put the, oh, that's for the fifth kind. You put also the, you're awesome, Bud. He put the book, Better Angels Are Nature. I definitely want to see that or read it.
You can listen to it. It's easier.
Yeah, there's a link on the
Yeah.
on that to the audiobook as well.
Right.
I want to hear what Bill has to say if he's here.
Maybe he's not here.
I'm looking for
Say-
some other, there he
Say
is.
about what?
You always have something good to say.
Oh. I'm loving this talk, John and Lisa, and also the questions are great. I just, the connection, John said it, you just said it, the connection of love is not something, it's not an emotion, it's a beingness.
Yes.
And we lose it or we miss it. We're distracted by objects of experience. So we lose the awareness of experience. And the awareness of experience is what we are. The awareness of experience is what God is. And the awareness of experience is what never leaves us. So, and that's why the Course's goal is to remove the obstacles to the awareness of love's presence. And when the obstacles are removed, what's left is love's presence. And love's presence isn't something that we look for or that we feel, it's our identity. So, and it's a visceral thing, and we're not familiar with it. We're not familiar with love's presence being our I am, because we're not familiar with our I am. We've always been identified as I am Bill, I am Lisa, I am this body, I'm hurt, I'm this, I'm that, or if we project it out onto other people and we say he is this or she is that, we're projecting those identifications to our own I am, and we lose our connection as self, as self realization, self-realizing our own being by objectifying all of our experiences. And so I love the topic. It's awesome. I love all of you, and both you and John, I love listening to your voices. They resonate with, they're like music to me. They always have been. John's got that he's got that beautiful bass. He could be a great radio guy. And I love Lisa's voice because I married her. And I loved her voice before I married her. But thank you for letting me speak, and happy Valentine's to everyone.
What you're pointing to, Bill, is you use the word being, and being is a great word. The Course talks about being. This is where we really want to get to. Being is a state in which the mind is in communication with all that there is. That's a direct quote from the Course of Miracles, right? So it's just, and it also says that being was our state prior to the separation. So it's the separated mind which steps out of being, but the being is the wholeness. That's what's wonderful about reading the book about the secret life of trees, because they want to help each other. They want to help each other because if they don't help each other, it can hurt them. That's like the Course in Miracles says, the most basic law there is in the universe is the law of cause and effect. What goes around comes around. So we don't when you're loving another, you're loving yourself. And that's what's the wonderful part about it, because everything boomerangs, everything comes right back. It's in terms of so what do we talk about? We give the love. We give the love and we give the love and you get the love, but it starts with giving. It starts with me having enough motivation to want to do that. And the more I do that, the more I want to do that, because I realize what value there is in that. How wonderful it is to have that experience. That's why in the little Sunday with Monday piece that I sent out this morning, on Sunday morning, I was remembering falling in love with my high school sweetheart. And also my wife, it's the same thing. But it was just like, I fell into this. I just tumbled into this. I couldn't stop it. And I didn't want to stop it because it was just so it's a mystical experience because I had never had that experience before. And all of a sudden you're outside of yourself, and you're outside of yourself because you want to be helping this other, you want to make this other being happy. God wants us to be happy, right? So, and God realizes that we block the happiness. It's not that the happiness isn't there. That's why the course begins with, it's about removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. And that's what the atonement is. All we got to do with the atonement is just begin to set these things. Okay, I have an angry thought here. I have an attack thought there. I don't need this angry thought. I don't need this attack thought. I don't need this judgmental thought. Watch my language is a really good way. What's coming out of this mouth? I'm always giving myself away. We are all always giving ourselves away in terms of what we're throwing onto the world. And there's so much, one of the things that God is going here is, the world right now, television, because it's this great big screen, in all of our rooms, and it's telling us about all the problems that are going on now. And that's what we see. We see the divisions, and we see the segregations. We see the liberals and the conservatives and the radicals, and none of that is real, because the thing, we really love each other. We really do love each other. And you don't have to scratch very deep below the surface to see that that's true. Why are we just looking at the surface? Why don't we go a little deeper into this and see the heart? You see the heart, you feel it in your heart. Let me stop.
Yeah, thank you so much, John, for that, and thank you, Bill. I love to hear both of your enthusiasm on the subject. And I don't know what you just said, John, but I was thinking of there's a lot of great comments too on the board about being, that not about fixing it, but being it. And that's what Bill was saying is I love that part of the Course in Miracles. I think it's in chapter 7. It talks about the law of creation, and it talks about that you extend what you are. And so it's your being. So that is important, because what are you being? That's where it gets into oh, I'm being weak and sick and frail and small. Then that's what I'm going to get. But that's not what I am. That's what the body self believes it is in the moment. But am I? I am being this. I am connected one with all. I am one with the trees. I love that analogy of to know that that's us.
Right. That's the whole of consciousness, because we're a part of the whole of consciousness. Right? The word that I really like here, Bill used it, was presence. Mm-hmm. It's really being present. Mm-hmm. Right now, which means I'm not off with my ideas someplace, but I'm here with you, with the child or whatever it is. Scott has an observation or question like this. Let's go to Scott.
Yeah. Jean asks a question: how can we tell our advances from our retreats as far as healing our mind? I ask because there seems to be a lot coming up from the unconscious to be healed. Thanks.
You want to deal with that first and then go to Scott?
Yeah, Jean, are you here? I always like to see people when they ask a question. Oh, there you are. Do you want to come on? Do you want to unmute yourself? Oh, you're still muted. Oh. Let's see. Hold on a sec. I am going to ask you to unmute if I can. It's not doing anything. Ask to unmute.
Okay.
There you go. There you are.
Thank you. I didn't know how to do it. Okay. Yeah, that was my comment. I know that there's a quote in there's a quote in the course about somewhere, and I don't know where, but that we can't tell our advances from our retreats. Some of our biggest advances were some of what feel like our biggest retreats were actually advances, and vice versa. Yep. And I just, so I put that down because I know for myself, I may get emotional, but I feel like I've been working the course for a long time, and there's so much that comes up day by day, hour by hour, that, and I try to bless it, and I recognize that if it's coming, if I'm having a reaction, I know it's because there's something else coming up that needs to be healed. And I just like, oh my God, there's just so much.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much. So I try to think, well, at least I'm aware, at least I know, I know to apply the course. I mean, I know that, in other words, course lessons will come into my awareness that I know, and if I start to judge, I know it's not the other person, and I'll know it's my stuff. I'll be able to step back and know that it's my stuff. But it's just like there's so much of it.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much. I totally understand that. Like, I feel like when I made that decision in 2012 that I was going to be myself, I was going to be as God created me. I was going to recognize my oneness. I was going to be just happy and generous and free and a child of God. I was going to be all of that. And you think when you make a decision like that, it's all going to be just an easy path. It's all going to be like, oh, I'm just going to start showing up like that. And what happened was just everything that I had been containing my entire life started to come up, and it started to be shown outside of me. So it just kept coming. It was like, then I got sick. Then my marriage with Bill Free almost ended in divorce. I mean, we went through, in the middle of, from then and now, like this war period for a while. So for me, like, that's where acceptance, which is what today's topic is all about, is that you are sent here to remember the truth of what you are, and that we're told that we're doing this for everyone. So all that comes up is literally coming up to be seen, and it's clearing out. So you can just allow it to come. It doesn't matter, because you've already accepted your wholeness and your perfection. Have you ever done that before? Have you ever accepted the truth of who you are?
Well, as someone said earlier, I feel like I have, intellectually, but it takes a lot of practice.
Okay, so that's where then probably the answer is no. And then you
so that's a yes, that's a no. Oh my God.
But that's okay, because this is for everyone here. I mean, thank you for coming forward and being visible, because now it's Valentine's Day, everyone. Like, you're wearing red for Valentine's even. Like, this can be a day you will all never forget. February 14th, 2021, Valentine's Day, is the day you accepted the truth of who you are. So it doesn't matter so now, today, that's what I'm going to encourage for you, to accept the truth of who you are. You're pure light, not a body. You're eternal, changeless, whole, one with God, one with yourself, one with everyone and everything. That's the truth of what you are. And it doesn't require belief, it requires acceptance. And that's today's topic. So this is the Valentine's Day gift you give to yourself of saying, okay. And you don't have to do big bells or whistles or tell us, or it's done in your heart, not in your head. And you say, I accept the truth of what I am.
Let's go to Scott. Scott had his hand up for a while. Scott, go ahead and share what you want to share. You got to unmute, Scott. Always stay unmute. Or you can just hold the space bar down and we'll do it. There you go. Why am I not hearing you?
You're still on mute.
Yeah, I know. You're still on mute, Scott.
Let me see if I can do it. Ask to unmute.
That's as far as we can go.
Just hold your space on down, Scott. That'll do too. And talk.
Keep it down.
Yeah, and hold it. Keep holding it down. No?
There it is. He's connecting to audio now.
Okay, good.
Nope, still.
You
Wow.
turned it on and then you turned it off.
Now you're unmuted.
Now,
No? Wow.
Say something, Scott.
No?
You'll have to put it in chat. Sorry about that.
Let's go to Lisa H because Lisa had her hand up for a while. And let's.
Actually, Lynn had her hand up first, so I'll let her go first.
Okay. Go ahead, Lynn.
I just want to share my gratitude. I never, ever thought I'd be happy. I was suicidal most of my life. And I was, there was a lot of violence in my life. And Kyle Gibran says, the deeper sorrow carves in you, the more joy you can contain.
Wow.
And I just want to, if you don't, I'd just like to read a little poem.
Okay.
All I love is with me now. Time comes together where I am. My creation's tangible as grace's joy, beauty that always is. Past mind, I know, I paint this picture as flower prisms touch all pores. In thou absolute to absolution, my love is strong as I am. It's
Very
possible, folks.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
As you are. Now let's go to Lisa H.
Thank you. I just had an experience 3 months ago where I went through a real long grieving period, and I thought it was over a person, but what happened was I recognized that my idea of sharing love died. And what I mean by that is I used to think that sharing love was through body communication. And I'm also a little confused because I've been really reading the sex material in the CE. And so now I'm confused because I think I'm confused, and I say this out loud because I need help with it. I don't really know how to share love with a person now that my idea of the romantic idea of sharing bodies through love communication sexually has kind of fallen out, collapsed, if you will. So how do you share love, Lisa, with people, a partner, for example, without?
Well, I'll just share a personal tidbit. Bill and I do still have sex for everyone to, I'll just say that out in public. And we went through a huge period where we were like, we're not supposed to have sex. We're being bodies now. We're being, and so we kind of had to work through that. And where I am today is that it's, here's how I feel about the Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles is not meant to be, it is meant as a mind training to bring us back to our identity as the truth of what we are, to be this consciousness, this love, this awareness. So it's like a training manual, and it comes from all these different places to get us out of the body identification. So it's almost like it takes us out, because there's no out, but let's just say that it takes us for a moment out of the way we have contained ourselves, so that we have this memory returns to us, that I know who I am. I know our oneness. I know God. I know because I live it. I'm it. So then what it says is then you come back, but not the same. So that's my experience. So people think, well, Lisa, you still have, and we're both Lisa, but I'm talking about myself now. It's like, well, you're still in a body. You must not be there yet. You're just like us. No, the body's like a costume. Like to me, it's like a bodysuit. It's not me, but it becomes a very valuable tool now where the love of God and the truth can come into the world. I just use it as a communication device where all this love and all these words come through. That someone who's struggling the way I used to struggle might hear something and wake up. So, I mean, I'm happy to hear, John, what you have to say, anyone else, but I went through a lot of guilt around it, and I finally had to go, this with the rules and stuff, this just not for me.
Let's go with your partner, Bill, and see what he's got. He's got his hand up.
How good.
Well, I wasn't going to share about the sex thing, but I don't mind. I have felt that it was a distraction, that it was a delaying mechanism, and also I spent quite a bit of time reading those extra 2,700 words in the CE edition that were not in the Blue Book around the topic of sex, because I was interested in what is all this sex thing, and is that keeping me from awakening? And I realized, I spent many years thinking, having thoughts come in and out with that idea. And really, sex is not any different than anything else. Sex is not different than anger. It's not different than any association with the body-mind experience. It's I think it's in the Course. Jesus, the consciousness of the Christ we call Jesus, put it in there because he doesn't want us to miss it. It's a highly energized expression of the body-mind experience. Don't miss it, but don't give attention to it. Just like don't give fuel to the attention of any objects of experience. And for most course students, they're so focused on the concepts of the course and getting it right and using the mantra lessons, which are great. But if you're aware of your experience right now, if you're aware of this experience, you're outside of time and space, you're resting in God, and your awareness of all of those concepts, your awareness of all of the, whether it's sex or hatred or body behavior or whatever it is, if you're aware of the experience, stop. Stop right there and rest in God. Because the awareness is what God is. And no one here is not that. No one here can have an experience they're not aware of. Stop right there in awareness of the guilt that goes with sex, the guilt that goes with judgment, the judgment that goes with projection outside of you. If you can just rest in awareness, you're in that place of quiet presence. In quiet, I received God's word today. In quiet, we receive the vibrational frequency of our Godness, of our God self. And all of the other things, whether it's sex or judgment or duality, good, bad, right, or wrong, all of those other things are seen from awareness and not touched, not judged, not anything, because God has no name, really. God is the isness of I am. And we all have that. We don't have to read a book. We don't have to listen to a great lecture, although there are great lectures. And thank you. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I think that's good. My friend, I have a friend, Max, in Australia, and he always likes to say, "Guilt's the killer." And I think that's like the bottom line of A Course in Miracles. Really, is like that's the thing that needs to be seen and healed, is the guilt. Like when we cut, and I love what Bill said, it's a highly charged subject. So that's why Jesus probably put it in there. Because it's like, that's a big identification for a lot of people. And so it's like, all right, we're not like missing anything in this course. We're going to put it all in there.
Scott, can you work your?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, wonderful.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
Scott.
Hi.
Okay.
I just had to leave the meeting, come back in, and so I think it's working now. Thank you, Bill and Lisa and John, for having this call. One of the upsides of coronavirus and the pandemic and the shutdown is that I've been studying independently for 15, 16 years now, and not with anybody else. I've been kind of on a solo path, and having these video calls is kind of the first time that I'm connecting. And this is my first call with all of you, and I feel like I've made some good advancements over the years. Talk about advancements and retreats on that subject, but the advancement is like when I first got on the call, I just felt an instant connection with all of you. And John first, I didn't even know it was John talking. He's like, "Hey Scott, where are you from?" And I just like felt this instant connection. It's just like, I've known these people my whole life.
Yeah.
And so that was just a great feeling, and I'm glad to be here. And I feel like the advancement that I've been making, like through my work life, I feel like I practice and feel love towards everybody, towards my clients, to everybody that I talk to. I try to give my best in those moments, and but sometimes, I want to carry that. Like I watch my language and the words that I use, and that's the thing that I think I really need to advance more on, because to be a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really watch my language a lot, and I don't know, I'm rambling a little bit, but thank you so much.
Watching language is a very important place to catch it. You're catching what's going on, and you can change it, you can stop it. You can put it in another direction. All right, that's what the course is at. And a couple of times in the course, it actually says, "Go the other way." When you see the insanity piece coming up, you're like, "Oh, okay, I got it. Go the other way." All right, go to the forgiving part rather than the insane part. Yeah,
and I think in the fast-paced part of my job, where I'm just bombarded by 15 directions all the time. It's part of what I do, and and I feel like I do that pretty well. But in the quickness and the fast-pacedness, you have knee-jerk reactions to it, and I think, and sometimes my knee-jerk reactions are just like, when I think about them later, it's like, no, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Right. So what's great is that you're catching the knee-jerk reactions, and that's part of learning the course and doing the course. Is you more and more quickly catch on the knee-jerk reactions, so that you give an opportunity to get above the battlefield and to see what's going on a little bit, so that you know that I could let this go. That's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is just letting it go. It's just like nothing there. I want to create something that's insane. I don't think so. I just want to let the love be what it is. Mm-hmm. And then it works so smooth.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Scott. I loved hearing that. I love seeing you. And yeah, I agree with John. Like the whole, have this 40-day program for transformation, and the whole thing is built on watch your thoughts like a hawk. And that's, of course, that's a beginner step. That's really, we're being able to stay present and see what the mind has been doing, which we couldn't see before because it was all unconscious and automatic. And so when you come into this space of awareness and being conscious, it's like, what? Was I just about to say that? What am I doing? Like, it's funny. Like, you actually begin to have an experience of like, who is then? Jesus actually calls you're an alien here. Like, it's that whole thing of being this person who's in the world saying the things we say based on a separation thought system. John said it earlier, it's quite literally insane. Like, it's, and then you see it. That's a good day, because then you've already seen it. You're like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore.
No, isn't that good? You know, believe it or not, it's 4 minutes till 2.
Yeah, this has been so fun.
I know.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you so much for being here.
Or Lisa, would you like to say something about what's coming up for you guys, like in April? There's something significant coming up. Either one of you want to chime in about that?
I will. We have the awareness conference that's coming up April 16th through the 18th, and it'll be a big event. John will be there, Lisa will be there, I'll be there, and 30 plus other speakers will be there. Karen Drucker will be music, and James Twyman, I haven't talked to him about the music yet, but he'll be one of our speakers. Gangaji will be there, Rupert Spira, Francis Lucille, many teachers. It will be free for you'll be able to watch as much as you want for free, and then we'll have a very reasonably priced replays, but it's the awareness conference, and it's April 16, 17, and 18. You don't want to miss it. It's A Course in Miracles, non-duality, a little bit of science, and it's an awesome weekend. Thank you, John.
Can you drop a link to that in chat, please?
No, it's not ready. The registration isn't quite ready. John will have a link and he'll send it out. We don't have the registration page up yet.
That'll be around there, right after the.
It'll be published March 1st.
All right.
Yeah.
And if you want to join me on Tuesday evening of this next week, just a couple days from now, at 8 o'clock, it's just for dialoguing. It's not a regular program. It's just a Q&A on anything about the Course in Miracles at all. We should be able to address it. And I want to thank Bud for being my technical host here today. Appreciate that, Bud.
Love you, Bud.
Love you too.
One of the ways that I like to close these is with someone reading the Lord's Prayer, which I will put on screen. Who would like to got a volunteer anywhere? Anybody? I'll read it if nobody else will volunteer.
I'll do it.
Okay, good. Let me see if I can get it on screen for you. All right. Okay.
Almost there. There it is.
Okay, and the rest of us can do it in our own.
So this is the Lord's Prayer from A Course in Miracles. Take a deep breath, everyone, coming into this moment. Forgive us our illusions, Father, and help us to accept our true relationship with you, in which there are no illusions, and where none can ever enter. Our holiness is yours. What can there be in us that needs forgiveness when yours is perfect? The sleep of forgetfulness is only the unwillingness to remember your forgiveness and your love. Let us not wander into temptation, for the temptation of the Son of God is not your will, and let us receive only what you have given and accept but this into the minds which you created and which you love. Amen.
Okay, let's go back into gallery view. So that we can say our goodbyes to each other. Thank you all for being here, and I hope to see you somewhere down the road in a class or back on a Sunday or Monday or whenever. So, Richard, thank you.
Thank you so much, John.
Thank you, Lisa, for being here. Jay.
Thank you all.